A single billionaire father finds a girl hiding inside a dumpster, and she says through tears, "Please, I don't want to go back there." The office clock read 11:40 when Michael finally shut down the computer. Another late night working. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked out the window on the 12th floor. The streets were almost empty, with only a few cars passing every now and then. Michael tucked the papers into the drawer and grabbed his blazer. The corporate building was silent. His footsteps echoed along the empty corridor as he headed to the elevator. The company was doing well, but ever since Sarah died, work had become his sole distraction. Lily stayed with the babysitter until late tea, and he always arrived home after she was already asleep. The elevator descended slowly. Michael thought of his daughter. Tomorrow was Saturday. Perhaps they could make pancakes for breakfast, as Sarah used to do. Lily loved helping stir the batter. The doors opened on the ground floor. The night concierge, Jerry, waved from the security desk. "Good evening, Mr. Patterson." "Good evening, Jerry." Michael crossed the lobby and pushed open the glass door. The cold night air hit his face. It was October, and fall was settling in. He buttoned his blazer and walked toward the parking lot behind the building. His footsteps were the only sound in the still night. The parking lot was almost empty, just his car and two others. Michael rummaged in his pocket for his keys when he heard something strange, a low noise like a muffled moan. He stopped and listened. Wind rustling in the trees, cars in the distance on the avenue. Nothing else. He took a few more steps toward his car when he heard it again. Definitely a human sound. It was coming from the dumpster area on the far side of the lot. Michael hesitated. It could be a homeless person, or someone hurt, or something worse, but he couldn't just walk away. He walked slowly in the direction of the sound. The dumpsters were in a covered area, somewhat hidden behind a low wall. The lighting there was dim. "Is anyone there?" he called softly. Silence. Michael got closer. 3 large metal dumpsters were lined up against the wall. The smell was strong but not unbearable. Mostly commercial waste, mostly paper. Then he heard it again, a faint sound, like someone trying not to cry. It was coming from the middle dumpster. Michael felt his heart race. Someone was inside that dumpster. He walked over and tapped lightly on its side. "Hey, is someone in there?" The sound stopped immediately. Michael lifted the heavy metal lid. The weak lamppost light didn't reach far inside, but he could make out a small shape curled up at the bottom. It was a child, a little girl. "Oh my God," he whispered. The girl was curled up like a frightened animal. She looked about 5 or 6 years old. She was crying, covered in grime, her hair plastered to her face, her clothes torn. She shivered from the cold. "Hey there, sweetie," Michael said as gently as he could. "Are you okay?" The girl lifted her face, big dark eyes full of fear. She didn't answer. She just stared at him. Michael looked around. No one was nearby. How had a child ended up here? Where were her parents? "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "What's your name?" Silence. Michael didn't know what to do. He couldn't leave her there, but he also couldn't just take a stranger's child. "Listen, you can't stay in there. It's too cold. Do you want to come out?" The girl studied him for a long moment. Then, very slowly, she stretched out her little arms. Michael lifted her out carefully. She felt so light. He could feel her bones through the thin clothing. She smelled terrible, but he didn't mind. "There you go, you're safe now." He set her on the ground. The girl clung to his leg as if afraid he might walk away. "Where are your parents?" She didn't answer. "Do you live nearby?" Nothing. Michael knelt down in front of her, level with her eyes. "Sweetie, I need to know what happened. How did you end up in that dumpster?" The girl looked at her feet. Michael saw she was barefoot. Her little feet were dirty and cold. "Did you run away from home?" She looked up at him quickly, her face filled with panic. "Please," she whispered, barely audible, "I don't want to go back there." Her words hit Michael like a punch. There was so much fear in that small voice, so much desperation. "You don't want to go back there," she repeated, tears welling up in her eyes. Michael felt something break inside his chest. He'd been through something similar before. The pain of a child was something he recognized. Lily had spent months having nightmares after Sarah died. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're not going anywhere you don't want to go, I promise." The girl stared at him as if deciding whether she could trust him. "But I can't leave you out here on the street. It's too cold and it's dangerous." Michael thought quickly. He should call the police. It was protocol. But something about this situation felt off. The way she reacted when he asked about going home, the fear in her eyes. What if her parents were the problem? "Listen," he said finally. "How about you come with me? Just for tonight. Tomorrow we can talk more. You must be hungry, right?" The girl nodded slightly. "And cold." Another nod. "Then let's go. My car is right over there." Michael stood and held out his hand. The girl hesitated, then took his hand with her small, cold fingers. They walked in silence to the car. Michael opened the back door and helped her climb in. He grabbed his blazer and draped it over her. "Better." She pulled the blazer up to her chin and nodded. Michael started the car and turned up the heat. He glanced in the rearview mirror. The girl was curled in her seat, looking out the window. During the ride home, he thought about what he was doing. Technically, he might be breaking the law, but he couldn't shake the way she had said, "I don't want to go back there." Some things were more important than protocol. They arrived at the house in 20 minutes, a large home in a quiet neighborhood. Michael parked in the garage and turned off the engine. "We're here," he said. The girl looked out at the lit-up house. "Where are we?" "At my home." "You'll stay here tonight." "Where are the other people?" "It's just me and my daughter. She's 5 cows, but she's already asleep." Michael got out and opened the door for her. The girl hesitated, still wrapped in his blazer. They entered through the door that connected the garage to the kitchen. The babysitter was watching TV in the living room. "You're home early today, Mrs. Henderson said when she saw them. Then she noticed the girl and frowned. "Who's this?" "It's a long story," Michael replied. "She's staying with us tonight. You can head home now, Mrs. Henderson. Thanks for taking care of Lily." The babysitter looked curiously at the girl but didn't ask questions. She grabbed her purse and said goodbye. Michael was alone with the girl in the kitchen. She stood in the middle of the room, her eyes wide as she looked around. "You must be hungry," he said. "Do you want something?" She nodded. Michael opened the fridge. Milk, eggs, leftover dinner from Lily. A sandwich would be easier. "How about a ham and cheese sandwich?" "Okay." It was the first normal thing she had said. Her voice was low but clear. Michael made the sandwich and poured a glass of milk. He set both on the kitchen table. "You can sit." The girl climbed onto a chair with difficulty. Her little legs dangled in the air. She took the sandwich with both hands and took a small bite. Then another. She ate slowly but eagerly. "How long has it been since you last ate?" She stopped chewing, thinking, "I don't know, a long time." Michael felt his chest tighten. A 5-year-old child not knowing when she last ate. "Drink the milk too. It'll help." She obeyed, sipping slowly as if savoring. "What's your name?" Michael asked again. She hesitated. "Emma." "Emma? That's a beautiful name." "Hi, Michael." "Hi, Michael." "Emma, you need to take a bath. You're all dirty. After that, you can sleep in a nice warm bed." Emma's eyes widened. "A bed?" "Of course. I'm not going to let you sleep on the floor." Michael realized she looked surprised at the idea of sleeping in a bed, as if it wasn't normal for her. "Come on. I'll show you where the bathroom is." Emma finished the sandwich and climbed down from the chair. She followed Michael down the hallway to the guest bathroom. "You can bathe here," he said, turning on the warm water. "There's shampoo, soap, and clean towels. Leave your dirty clothes in the hamper. I'll wash them tomorrow." Michael took one of his smaller shirts from his bedroom closet. "You can wear this to sleep. It's big, but it's better than nothing." Emma took the shirt and nodded. "Shout if you need anything, okay? I'll be nearby." Michael closed the door and stayed in the hallway, listening. The sound of running water, gentle movements. At least she knew how to bathe herself. He went upstairs to check on Lily. She was fast asleep, clutching her teddy bear. Michael straightened her blanket and kissed her forehead. Tomorrow he would have to explain about Emma. When he came back down, Emma was stepping out of the bathroom. The shirt was huge on her, almost like a dress. Her hair was clean and brushed back. Without the grime, it was clear she was a pretty child, with fair skin and freckles across her nose. "Much better," Michael said. "Now you look like an ordinary little girl." Emma gave a small half-smile, the first since he found her. "Come on, I'll show you where you'll sleep." The guest room was on the ground floor near the living room. It had a single bed, a dresser, and an armchair. Michael turned on the bedside lamp. "Here it is. The bed is comfy. There are extra blankets if you need them." Emma stepped slowly into the room. She touched the bed as if she couldn't believe it was real. "Is it mine?" "For tonight, yes." She climbed onto the bed and wrapped herself in the blankets. Michael brought an extra pillow and placed it beside her. "Emma," he said, sitting on the edge of the bed, "tomorrow we need to talk about what happened, where you lived before. Is that okay?" Her face closed off immediately. "I don't want to talk about there." "I know, but I need to understand so I can help you. You're not going to send me back?" The question came filled with fear. "I won't do anything you don't want me to do," Michael promised, "but there are rules. People who help lost children may want to speak with you." Emma clutched the pillow. "Will they take me away?" "I don't know, sweetie, but not today. Today you are safe here." Emma pulled the pillow close to her chest and hugged it like a teddy bear. She stayed like that, quiet, staring at Michael with a mixture of gratitude and mistrust in her eyes. "Good night, Emma." "Good night," she whispered, still clutching the pillow. Michael turned off the light and left, but he left the door ajar. He paused in the hallway for a moment, listening. Emma shifted in the bed, adjusting the blankets, but she made no sound. In the living room, Michael turned on his laptop and searched for missing children in the city. Nothing turned up about a 5-year-old named Emma, at least not in the last few days. Tomorrow he would call his attorney. He needed to know his legal obligations and how to protect Emma from whatever she was running from. He went to the kitchen for a glass of water and passed by the guest room door again. He peeked in. Emma lay on her side, arms wrapped tightly around the pillow as if holding onto it. Her eyes were closed, but her body looked tense, alert. Even while sleeping, she couldn't fully relax, as if part of her was ready to run at any moment. Michael went up to his own bedroom but couldn't fall asleep. He kept thinking about the girl down below, how she had ended up in that dumpster. Who could have hurt a 5-year-old so badly that she preferred to hide in the trash? And how he would explain all this to Lily the next morning. Downstairs, Emma stayed awake, hugging the pillow with her eyes shut, but listening to every sound in the house. She couldn't believe she was in a real bed in a warm, safe place. But she also couldn't fully let go. It was too good to be true. And things that are too good never last long. Michael was in a deep sleep when the scream cut through the night like a blade. It was a terrible sound. Loud, desperate. The kind of scream that makes your blood run cold. He shot out of bed before he was fully awake, his heart pounding in his chest. "Emma." He raced down the hallway, almost tripping over himself in his rush. He ran down the stairs 2 at a time, grabbing the banister to steady himself. The guest room door was ajar just as he had left it, but from inside came heartbreaking sounds. Michael pushed the door open and flipped on the bedside lamp. Emma sat on the bed, shaking violently. Her hair was plastered to her sweaty face, her eyes wide with pure terror. She cried in a way he had never seen a child cry, as if her entire world was collapsing. "Emma!" Michael ran to her bed. "What is it? What happened?" She didn't look at him. She just kept crying, her small hands covering her ears tightly. "No, no," she muttered, rocking back and forth. "Stop. Stop it. Stop screaming." Michael sat on the edge of the bed carefully. He didn't want to frighten her further. She seemed to be somewhere else. "Emma," he said in the softest voice he could muster. "Look at me. You're here with me. You're safe. It was just a nightmare." But she shook her head violently, denying it. "It wasn't a nightmare," she sobbed, her voice breaking. "He was screaming. I heard him again. He was screaming at her again." Her words came tangled in sobs. Michael tried to understand, but Emma was completely panicked. "Who was screaming, sweetie? Who was screaming?" Emma finally looked at him. Her eyes were red and puffy, filled with tears that wouldn't stop. "Rick," she whispered. "He always yelled at my mum. Always." And she cried, and I'd stay in my room covering my ears with the pillow, but I heard it anyway, always. Michael felt a pang in his chest. The situation was becoming clearer, and it wasn't good. "Emma," he said, keeping his voice calm. "You're here with me now. No one is screaming. The house is quiet. Do you want to listen?" She stopped crying for a moment and listened. Complete silence, just the distant sound of cars on the street. "But I heard it. I was sure I heard it." "That was the nightmare," Michael explained. "Sometimes our brains make us hear things that aren't happening, especially when we sleep. It's like the brain is watching a scary movie." Emma wiped her nose on the sleeve of the large shirt. "It happens every night for me." "Nightmares?" She nodded sadly. "Every day. That's why I don't like to sleep. When I sleep, they come back. The screams come back." Michael understood why she had taken so long to fall asleep the previous night, and why she seemed so tense even lying down. Sleep made her vulnerable to memories. "How long have you been having these nightmares?" Since that day, since I ran away from home." Emma curled up further in the bed, pulling her knees to her chest. "Sometimes I wake up screaming. Other times I wake up quiet, pretending I didn't have the nightmare. But it always comes back. Do you want to talk about these nightmares?" Emma shook her head quickly, fear returning to her eyes. "I can't." "Why not?" Because then you'll know the truth, and you'll send me away." Michael tilted his head, confused. "Emma, I promised yesterday I wouldn't do anything you didn't want. Remember?" She nodded slowly. "I remember." "So why would I break my promise?" Emma thought for a moment, biting her lower lip. "Because if you knew what happened, you wouldn't like me anymore. You'd think I'm bad." Her words were so heavy with guilt and shame that Michael felt like crying. How could a 5-year-old carry so much weight on her shoulders? "Emma," he said, extending his hand slowly. "You are safe here, I promise." He kept his hand out, waiting. Emma looked at it for a long time, as if deciding whether she could trust him. Then, very slowly, she placed her small, cold hand in his. For the first time since he found her, she didn't pull away from the touch. She didn't try to flee. "Better?" Michael asked. Emma squeezed his hand and nodded, breathing more steadily. "Much better. Do you want me to stay here until you fall asleep again? Can you stay? You won't leave." "I won't go anywhere." Michael settled more comfortably on the bed, leaning against the pillows, still holding Emma's hand. She lay on her side facing him, never letting go. "Michael, thank you for not leaving me in the dumpster. I would never leave you in a place like that, Emma. Never. Even knowing I have bad dreams. Especially knowing that everyone needs someone to look after them when they have nightmares." Emma closed her eyes, but Michael noticed she wasn't asleep. She was just resting, as if for the first time in a long while, she felt safe enough to relax, even just a little. "Michael." "Yes." "Have you ever had nightmares?" "Yes. After my wife died, I had nightmares almost every night." "And did they go away?" "Over time, yes. I still have them sometimes, but not every night like before." "How did you get better?" Michael thought for a moment. "I talked to someone. I told someone about the nightmares, and little by little, they got smaller." Emma opened her eyes and looked at him. "Talking really helps." "It does. It doesn't fix it instantly, but it helps. It's like taking a heavy weight off your shoulders. When you share the weight with someone, it becomes lighter." Emma was silent for a moment, processing this. Maybe tomorrow I can talk a little. Only if you want. No rush. Do you promise you won't send me away?" "I promise." Emma finally relaxed for real. Michael stayed there, holding her small hand until he was sure she had fallen asleep, this time without nightmares. When he finally left the room, it was past 3 in the morning. Michael went up to his bedroom but couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Emma's words. "He always yelled at my mom. Rick, a violent stepfather." The situation was becoming clearer, and each puzzle piece made him more worried. At 6 in the morning, he gave up trying to sleep. He headed downstairs to make coffee and prepare for what was likely to be a difficult day. Lily came downstairs at 7:30, still in pajamas, clutching her teddy bear. "Daddy," she said, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "I heard a strange noise last night, like a scream." Michael crouched down to her level. "It was just someone having a bad dream, Princess. It's over now." "Who had a nightmare? Remember I told you that you have a new friend?" "She slept here last night." Lily's eyes lit up immediately. "The friend, where is she? Can I meet her now?" "She's still sleeping, sweetheart." "She had a rough night." "Why did she have a nightmare?" Michael thought about how to explain simply. Sometimes people go through bad things, and then our heads stay scared even when we sleep. Lily nodded seriously, as if she fully understood. "Like I get when there's a really loud thunder. Something like that, but a bit worse. Can I help her not be so scared?" Michael's heart warmed. Lily was only 5, but already had a generous heart. "I'm sure you can help, but first you need to have breakfast. And when she wakes up, be very gentle, okay? She's still a bit frightened." Lily nodded determinedly. "I'll be the kindest in the world. Can I lend her my teddy bear?" "I think she would love that." Michael made breakfast for Lily and kept an eye on the guest room. It was nearly 9 when he finally heard movement downstairs. Emma emerged into the kitchen doorway, still wearing the big shirt as a makeshift nightgown. Her hair was messy and she looked tired but calmer than the night before. "Good morning," she said softly. "Good morning, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" She shrugged. "A bit better. Thank you for staying with me." "Always." Lily eyed Emma curiously but remained quiet. Michael had explained that Emma needed to feel comfortable first. "Are you hungry?" Michael asked. "I have cereal, toast, eggs, juice. Just some milk, please. My stomach still feels a bit queasy." Michael poured warm milk and set a few pieces of toast on a plate, cut into triangles. "Try to eat at least a little. It'll help after the night you had." Emma sat at the table and took a bite of toast. She chewed slowly, as if testing whether her stomach would accept it. "Emma," Michael said, joining her at the table. "Last night you mentioned Rick and that he yelled at your mum. Are you ready to talk about that?" Emma stopped chewing. She looked at Lily, who was finishing her cereal. In front of her. "Lily, do you want to watch cartoons in the living room?" Michael suggested. "You can take your bowl if you'd like." "Can I?" "Of course." Lily grabbed her bowl and left excitedly. Michael waited until he could no longer hear her. "Now it's just the two of us," he said. "You can tell me whatever you feel ready to share." Emma swallowed the toast and stared at her hands. Michael waited patiently, not pressuring her. "I lived with my mom," she began slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "And with Rick. Is Rick your father?" "No, he was my mom's boyfriend. She said they were married, but they weren't really married. No ring or anything." Michael nodded, encouraging her to continue. "Rick never liked kids. He said that all the time, that kids just cause trouble and cost money. That I was a burden on my mom's life." Emma paused, nervously fidgeting with her cup of milk. "He drank a lot, all the time. Those brown bottles that smelled bad. When he drank, he got very angry. He yelled at my mom, called her names I can't repeat." "And your mom, how did she react?" "She cried a lot all the time. Sometimes I'd hear her crying in the bathroom, quietly, thinking I didn't know, but I always knew." Emma took a sip of milk before continuing. "Things got worse when Rick lost his job. He stayed home all day, drinking and fighting with my mom. He said we had no money, that we were going to starve." "What happened next?" "That's when he made me start selling candy at the traffic light." Emma looked down at her hands, shame evident on her face. "Every morning, Rick gave me a box of candy and took me to the big intersection downtown. He said I had to sell all of it and bring him the money." Michael felt his stomach churn. A 5-year-old child working in traffic. "Was it dangerous?" "Very. Cars came so close. People mostly ignored me, but some bought candy." "And Rick? Did he know how dangerous it was?" "He didn't care. He only wanted the money from the candy. If I didn't sell it all, he'd yell at me and at my mom. He'd call me worthless, say I couldn't even do that right." Emma wiped away a tear. My mom didn't like it. She cried and said a child shouldn't work like that. But Rick yelled that if she didn't like it, she could find a job. How long did you sell candy? I think about 2 months, every day except Sunday. I spent hours in the sun, in the cold, in the rain. My feet got sores from my torn shoes. Michael closed his eyes, trying to control his anger. Child exploitation was unforgivable. Was it during that time that the thing happened? The thing you don't want to talk about? Emma nodded, her body tensing again. It was on a Saturday. I had sold all the candy, but when I got home, Rick was fighting with my mom again, worse than ever. Her voice became lower, more tense. He was yelling that my mom was stupid, that she was good for nothing, that she was a bad mother. He said he was going to make me work in other places too, that a child had to be useful. Emma stopped speaking entirely. Her hands shook now. And then, my mom was crying so much, more than I'd ever seen. She said she couldn't live like that anymore, that this wasn't a life for a child, that she was going to pack our things, take me with her, and we'd leave forever. Emma took a deep breath as if preparing to jump off a cliff. Rick was furious when he heard that, angrier than I'd ever seen. He started swearing and he shoved her hard, very hard. Her words came in an almost inaudible whisper. Her head hit the corner of the kitchen table. It made a horrible sound, like something breaking. She fell to the floor and stayed still, very still. Michael felt as though someone had stabbed him in the chest. Emma, I was standing in the kitchen doorway. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe properly. Rick looked at her on the floor like he couldn't believe what had happened. Emma was shaking again. Then he looked at me, and I saw that he was scared too. But then his fear turned to anger. He yelled that I couldn't tell anyone what I saw. He said no one would believe a little girl anyway. That they'd say I was making it up. What did you do then? I ran out of the house and didn't stop. I ran until I couldn't anymore. Then I started walking. I walked all over the city. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know anyone who could help. Emma wiped her nose on her sleeve. I tried to sleep in some places, under bridges, behind stores. One time a strange man tried to grab me, but I ran very fast. Another time some older boys wanted to take my candy box, so I threw it away to make them leave me alone. How long were you living like that? I don't know exactly. Maybe a week or more. I hardly ate. Only when I found something in the trash that wasn't too spoiled, or when someone left leftover food on the street. Michael closed his eyes for a moment, trying to hold back emotion. The image of Emma, a 5-year-old girl living on the streets, scavenging for food. That's when I found the building where you work. There were those big, clean dumpsters. I thought if I stayed very still inside, no one would find me, and at least I'd be protected from wind and rain. Emma, Michael said, his voice trembling, you did the right thing. Running away was absolutely the right thing to do. Was it? Yes, you protected yourself, you survived, and now you're safe. But what if Rick finds me here? He's not going to... I won't let that happen. Emma looked at him with those big, scared eyes. Do you believe me about what I said about my mom and about having to sell candy? I believe every word. You wouldn't make up a story like that. Even knowing I couldn't help her. Emma, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Michael leaned closer. You were just a child forced to work. You're still just a child. It wasn't your responsibility to protect your mother from adults. It was the adults' responsibility to protect you. Emma thought about that, tears returning to her eyes. But I sold candy. That's wrong, isn't it? Kids can't work. It is wrong. But it was not your fault. Rick was wrong. He should have found a job for himself, not put you in danger. Emma nodded slowly, as if trying to believe his words. Michael? Yes. What's going to happen to me now? Will you turn me over to the police? Michael took a deep breath. It was a hard question. He couldn't promise things he wasn't sure he could deliver. I will do everything in my power to keep you safe. That I promise. And I won't let anyone force you to go back to a place where you don't feel safe. Can I stay here a little longer? You can stay as long as you need, Emma. She finished the milk and glanced toward the living room. where Lily was watching cartoons. She seems like a nice girl. Lily is very special, just like you. Can I try to talk to her? I won't tell her the bad things, but can I try to be a normal kid for a while? Michael smiled. It was the first time he saw a spark of hope in her eyes. I think that would be very good for you, and for Lily too. She's been looking forward to meeting you. I would really like to try. And for the first time since he found her in that dumpster, Emma smiled. A small, shy smile, but genuine. After their conversation in the kitchen, Emma was quieter than usual. She sat in the living room, watching Lily as she watched cartoons. She didn't say anything. She just sat there, like she was trying to understand how a normal household worked. Lily, for her part, glanced at Emma every now and then. Michael had explained that she needed to be patient, that the new girl was frightened. But Lily was a child, and children have a special way of breaking through walls. During lunch, the two ate in silence. Emma ate little, still cautious, while Lily asked simple questions. "Do you like pasta with sauce?" Lily asked. "I do," Emma replied softly. "Me too. Daddy makes the best sauce in the world." Emma gave a small smile but didn't say anything more. After lunch, Michael was washing dishes when he heard Lily approach Emma on the sofa. "Do you want to play with me?" she asked in that simple way only children have. Emma looked at her, surprised. "Play? Yes. I have a bunch of toys in my room. Dolls, building blocks, costumes, you can pick whatever you want." Emma hesitated. She looked to Michael, as if asking permission. "You can go," he said, smiling. "Lily loves showing her toys. Come on." Lily took Emma's hand and gently led her. "You'll love my room." Michael watched them climb the stairs, Lily chatting excitedly and Emma listening quietly. It was a start. In Lily's room, Emma stopped at the doorway, impressed. The room was as big as the living room of the house she used to share with her mother. It had a large pink canopy bed, shelves full of books and toys, a small art desk, and a toy chest that seemed endless. "Wow," Emma whispered. "Cool, right?" Lily said proudly. "Daddy said I could share everything with you. Want to see my dolls?" Lily ran to the shelf and started pulling out dolls. Babies, princesses, fairies, even some dressed as professionals. "This one is named Sarah," Lily said, holding up a blonde doll. "Her name is the same as my mommy's. This is Bella and this is Luna." Emma watched in fascination. Every doll was perfect, hair neatly styled, pretty clothes, limbs intact. "Are these all yours?" she asked. "They were, but now they're ours. Daddy said you can play with anything." Emma stepped closer and gently touched the hair of one of the dolls. "They're beautiful. Which one do you like the most?" Emma looked at all the dolls, undecided. Then her eyes filled with tears. "I only had one doll," she said softly, "but it was torn. It didn't even have an arm." Lily stopped talking. She looked at Emma with that seriousness children sometimes have. "What happened to it?" "I had to throw it away when I ran away. Some boys tried to take it, so I threw it in the trash so they'd leave me alone." "What mean boys?" Lily said indignantly. "Stealing a doll is very naughty." Emma nodded, wiping her eyes. "But now you can play with all of mine. Want this one?" Lily offered the prettiest doll, a princess in a golden gown. "Can I, really?" "Of course. And look at this." Lily went to the toy chest and pulled out a box full of accessories, tiaras, necklaces, bracelets, tiny shoes for the dolls. "We can have a princess party," Lily suggested. "How?" "We dress the dolls like princesses and have a tea party. Sometimes I pretend we have real tea and cookies." Emma took a tiny tiara and placed it on the doll. It was the first time she'd played with such beautiful toys. "Like this?" she asked. "Perfect. Now I'll get tiaras for us." Lily ran to the closet and came back with 2 tiaras for them. One was silver with sparkly gems, the other was gold with little flowers. "Which one do you want?" Emma looked at the 2 tiaras as if they were treasures. I've never worn a tiara." "Never?" Lily looked shocked. "Everyone has to wear a tiara at least once in their life. Here, this gold one will look beautiful on you." Lily placed the golden tiara on Emma's head with great care. "There you go. Now you're a real princess." Emma touched the tiara gently as if it might vanish. "How do I look?" Beautiful. Just like a princess in a movie. Emma smiled. It was a small but genuine smile. Now let's play, Lily said, putting on her own tiara. You can be Princess Emma, and I'll be Princess Lily, and our dolls are our princess daughters. The two sat on the fluffy rug in the center of the room and began to play. At first, Emma was shy, just watching Lily give different voices to the dolls, but slowly she loosened up. Princess Sarah wants to go to the ball, Lily said, moving her doll. And Princess Bella too, Emma responded timidly, making her doll dance. Then we'll all go to the ball together. They created an imaginary ball in the room, making the dolls dance. Emma began to laugh when Lily made one doll trip on purpose. Oops, Princess Luna doesn't know how to dance, Lily said, laughing. She needs lessons, Emma suggested, and the two laughed together. Their laughter drew Michael's attention, who was downstairs organizing papers. It was the first time he heard Emma laugh truly, a sweet, childlike sound that had been absent from the house for days. Upstairs, the girls kept playing. Lily showed Emma how to change the dolls' clothes, how to brush their hair, how to create different hairstyles. My mom taught me how to braid, Lily said, demonstrating on a doll. Want me to do it in your hair? Emma hesitated. Will it hurt? No, I promise, I'll be very gentle. Emma sat with her back to Lily, who began to brush her hair carefully. It was the first time in a long time someone tenderly cared for Emma. Your hair is so pretty, Lily said as she made the braid. It's the color of chocolate. My mum said that too, Emma said softly. Did she braid your hair? Sometimes, when she was in a good mood. Lily finished the braid and Emma looked at herself in the bedroom mirror. It looks beautiful, Lily said proudly. Really? Absolutely. Now you look like a real princess. The two continued to play for hours. They held a doll fashion show, made up stories, built a small house out of blocks. Emma started to relax, forgetting everything she had been through, at least for moments. When Michael went upstairs to check on them, he found both lying on the rug, surrounded by toys, laughing at some game they had invented. How are the princesses? He asked from the doorway. Daddy, look how beautiful Emma looks, Lily said proudly. Michael looked at Emma with her golden tiara and braided hair. She was flushed from so much play, her eyes shining with joy. She looked like a normal child for the first time. You really look beautiful. Are you two having fun? A lot, the two answered in unison, bursting into giggles at their synchronized response. How about we bake cookies? Michael suggested. I can teach both of you. Cookies! Lily jumped up excitedly. Emma, do you know how to make cookies? Emma shook her head. Never made them. Then you'll learn today, Lily said, taking her hand. Daddy makes the best cookies in the world. In the kitchen, Michael arranged all the ingredients on the counter. Flour, sugar, eggs, butter, chocolate chunks. First, we mix the flour with the sugar, he explained, handing small aprons to the girls. Emma watched attentively, as if learning something very important. Lily already knew the recipe and helped explain to Emma. Now we crack the eggs, Lily said. Want to try? Emma held an egg as carefully as if it were a fragile treasure. What if I break it wrong? There's no wrong way, Michael said kindly. If a shell falls in, we'll fish it out. No problem. Emma cracked the egg slowly. A small piece of shell fell in, but she managed to remove it with the tip of the spoon herself. I did it! Congratulations, Lily clapped. They mixed all the ingredients, getting flour on themselves and laughing as Michael pretended to throw flour at them. Emma was fully immersed in the activity, forgetting everything else. Now we roll the dough into balls, Michael showed. The girls made balls of various sizes, some small, others huge. Emma took care with each one, as if they were tiny works of art. These are mine, she said, pointing to a line of perfectly round cookies. They look the same, Lily said admiringly. You're good at this. While the cookies baked, the three sat at the kitchen table. Emma was more talkative than she had been in the morning. Michael, can I help with other things around the house? She asked. Of course. What would you like to do? I don't know anything, I just want to help. How about you help with the plants? Lily suggested. We have a small garden out back. Plants? Yes. We have tomatoes, flowers, and even herbs Daddy uses for cooking. After the cookies were done and they tasted them, Emma said they were the best she had ever eaten. They went outside to the garden. Emma had never seen such a well-kept garden. Neat garden beds, healthy green plants, colorful flowers. "You can help me water them," Lily said, handing Emma a small watering can. "How?" "Just pour water on the plants. They get thirsty, just like us." Emma followed Lily's instructions, carefully watering each plant. She was afraid of doing it wrong, but Lily encouraged her. "That's perfect. Look how happy they are with the water." "Plants get happy. Of course, they like water, sun, and care. Just like people." Emma thought about this as she watered the tomato plants. "Can I water every day?" "You can. We can take care of the garden together." After they finished in the garden, Michael suggested they draw for a while. He placed paper and colored pencils on the living room table. "You can draw anything you want." Lily immediately began drawing a house with a family standing in front. Emma stared at the blank paper, hesitant. "I don't know what to draw." "Draw what you like," Lily suggested. Emma thought for a moment, then started drawing slowly. First a flower, then another. Soon she was drawing an entire garden filled with colorful blossoms. "So beautiful," Lily said, admiring the drawing. "You draw very well." "Really? Very well. Look at those pretty flowers." Emma smiled and continued coloring. She added butterflies, a yellow sun, and white clouds. It was a cheerful, vibrant drawing. Michael watched from the armchair, pretending to read a magazine. He saw Emma smiling, talking to Lily, participating in activities. It was incredible to see the change in just one day. For the first time since Sarah died, the house was filled with happy children's voices. Lily was always joyful, but now there was something more. Emma's presence brought a different, more complete energy. During dinner, Emma ate better than in previous days. She joined the conversation, asked questions about the garden plants, and even suggested they bake chocolate cookies the next day. "Can I sleep with the tiara?" she asked at bedtime. "Of course," Lily said. "Princesses always sleep with their tiaras. But what if I ruin it? It won't break, and if it does, it's okay. The important thing is you feel like a princess." Emma smiled and touched the tiara gently. At bedtime, Michael went to say goodnight to both girls. Lily was in her room but asked to say goodnight to Emma as well. "Good night, Emma. Thank you for playing with me today. Thank you for letting me play with your toys." "Now they're our toys," Lily corrected. "Friends share everything." In the guest room, Emma lay down still wearing the tiara. Michael noticed she seemed more relaxed. "How was your day?" "It was the best day of my life," she said sincerely. "I've never played so much." "And tomorrow you can play again." "Really?" "Of course. This is your home now." Emma smiled and nestled into the pillow. "Michael." "Yes?" "Thank you for letting me stay here, and thank you for having such a nice daughter. Thank you for bringing joy into our home, Emma." When Michael went downstairs, he sat in the living room and took a deep breath. For the first time in years, the house truly felt alive. It wasn't just him and Lily trying to fill the void Sarah left. It was a family forming naturally. Emma was still quiet, still carrying scars, but she was integrating. She was learning to be a child again, and Lily was learning to share, to care for someone, to be an older sister. The sound of laughter that had echoed through the house all day still seemed to linger. It was the sound Michael hadn't realized he missed so much. It was the sound of a house filled with life and warmth. It was Saturday morning when Michael suggested they go out for a bit. "How about we go out for a bit?" he said during breakfast. "We can go to that diner Lily likes, the one with the colorful milkshakes." Lily jumped in her seat, excited. "Burger Palace, Emma, you're going to love it. They make a special kid-size burger and have a play area inside." Emma looked at Michael, still cautious about leaving home. "Is it far?" "Not too far. It's in a small mall, about 15 minutes away." "Will there be a lot of people?" Michael noticed worry in her voice. "It's a family place, pretty calm. And if you feel uncomfortable at any point, we can go back home." "Deal?" Emma nodded slowly. "Deal." An hour later, they were in the car heading to the mall. Lily chatted excitedly about all the possible milkshake flavors, while Emma watched the city pass by through the window. "That building is where Daddy works," Lily said, pointing as they passed through downtown. Emma looked at the tall building and remembered the night in the dumpster. It felt like ages ago. "Is that where you found me?" she asked Michael. "It is, in the back parking lot." Emma was silent for a moment. "Thank goodness you work late," she said. Michael smiled in the rearview mirror. "Thank goodness indeed." The mall was small and cozy. Burger Palace was on the second floor, with large windows overlooking the food court. The atmosphere was cheerful, with a retro decor and upbeat music. "Table for 3?" the hostess asked. "Yes, please, somewhere a bit out of the way." The waitress led them to a corner booth near the indoor play area. It was perfect, close enough for the girls to see the play area but a bit separated from the main foot traffic. "What would you like to order?" Michael asked, handing menus around. Lily already knew by heart. Kids' burger with fries and a strawberry milkshake. Emma studied the menu carefully, as if it was the most important decision of her life. "Is there really a kid-size burger?" "Yes," the waitress said with a smile. "The perfect size for princesses like you." Emma smiled shyly at the comment. "Then I'll have the same as Lily, but can I pick a different milkshake flavor?" "Of course. We have chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, banana." "Chocolate, please." Michael placed his own order and watched the girls. Emma was more relaxed than he had expected. She looked around curiously, paying attention to the other customers, families with children. "Can I go play at the play area?" Lily asked. "You both can, but don't leave this area, okay?" The girls ran toward the play area. It was small but well equipped. There was a slide, a ball pit, and some climbing toys. Michael watched them from the table. Emma was still more cautious than Lily, but she was participating. She climbed the slide a few times, always checking to see if Michael was still there. When the food arrived, the two ran back. "The slide is so fun," Emma said, more animated than Michael had seen her yet. "And the ball pit too," Lily added. "We'll go back there later." They devoured their burgers with appetite. Emma ate almost everything, which pleased Michael. She was gaining weight slowly, but was still too thin for a 5-year-old. "This milkshake is delicious," Emma said, taking a big sip. "I knew you'd like it," Lily replied proudly. Michael leaned back in his chair, watching the two converse. Emma laughed at Lily's jokes, joined the conversation, acting like a normal child on a normal family outing. "Can I have a milkshake every time we come here?" Emma asked. "Absolutely. We can make this our tradition." "What's a tradition?" "It's something a family does regularly, like coming to the diner on Saturdays or making pancakes on Sundays." Emma smiled. "I like traditions." After they ate, the girls returned to the play area. This time, Emma was more at ease. She played in the ball pit, slid down the slide laughing, and even started a game of tag with Lily. The sound of Emma's laughter echoed through the diner. Other parents smiled as they watched two children having fun. Michael felt proud. In 1 week, Emma had changed completely, from a traumatized child hiding in a dumpster to a girl who laughed and played. Maybe it was possible. Maybe she really could start over as a normal child. They stayed at the diner for almost 2 hours. The girls exhausted every option in the play area, had dessert, ice cream for Emma, pie for Lily, and still played a bit more. "Can we come back next week?" Emma asked as Michael paid the bill. "Absolutely. How about we make that our Saturday tradition?" "I'd love that." They were leaving the diner when it happened. Michael was helping the girls off the escalator when he heard someone shouting behind them. "Emma! Emma!" The cry was loud and furious. Other shoppers in the mall turned to look. Michael turned and saw a man running toward them. He was tall, thin, wearing dirty clothes and looking menacing. The smell of alcohol reached Michael's nose even from several feet away. Emma froze. The chocolate milkshake she still held slipped from her hand and splattered on the floor. Her face turned pale. "Emma, come here now," the man shouted, getting closer. "It's him," Emma whispered, clutching Michael's shirt. "It's him. I don't want to go back to him." The words came in a desperate scream. Emma was in total panic, shaking violently. Michael immediately put himself between her and the man, shielding her with his body. "Lily, stand behind me," he said quietly. The man reached them, breathing heavily. Up close, Michael could see he was clearly drunk. His eyes were red, his clothes wrinkled, and he swayed slightly. "You're Rick," Michael said. It wasn't a question. "Who are you?" Rick yelled. "And why are you with my stepdaughter?" "I'm Michael Patterson, and Emma is under my protection." "Protection?" Rick sneered unpleasantly. "She's my responsibility." "Come here, Emma, now." Emma hid even more behind Michael, crying, "No, I don't want to. Please don't take me." "Emma is fine right where she is," Michael said firmly, "and she's not going anywhere. She's a minor. I'm her legal guardian. You can't keep her from me." "Where were you last week?" Michael asked. "When she was sleeping in a dumpster." Rick was momentarily speechless. Other shoppers gathered, watching the commotion. That's none of your business," Rick stammered. "She ran away. Kids do that. Kids don't run away without a reason." "You know nothing," Rick shouted. "Get away from me." Michael did not back down. "I know a 5-year-old child was so desperate she chose to sleep in the garbage rather than be with you. That tells me everything I need to know." "She's my responsibility," Rick repeated, raising his voice. "Not anymore," Michael said firmly. "Emma is not going back to you ever." Rick looked around and realized many people were watching. Some were recording with their phones. A mall security guard approached. "This isn't over," Rick muttered. "She's my responsibility, and I will get her back." "If you come near her again, I will call the police," Michael replied. "Oh, really?" Rick sneered menacingly. "And what will you tell them? That you kidnapped a child?" Michael felt a pang in his chest. Technically, Rick was right. Legally, Michael had no right to Emma. "I'll tell them I protected a child from a man who forced her to sell candy in traffic," he said. Rick's expression changed. For a moment, fear flickered in his eyes. She shouldn't have said that. Emma told me a lot of things. Things the police will be very interested in hearing." Rick looked at Emma, who was hiding behind Michael, still crying quietly. "1 week," he said finally. "In 1 week, I'll be back. And she's coming with me." "She's not going back," Michael said. "Because by then I will have legal custody of her." Rick laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. "Good luck with that. No judge will give a child to a stranger." He turned and walked away quickly, muttering curses. The security guard reached them. "Is everything okay here?" "It is now," Michael replied. "Thank you." Michael knelt down to Emma's level, who was still shaking violently. "It's over. He's gone." "He'll come back," Emma sobbed. "He said he'll come back." "He won't get her," Michael said. "I promise." "How do you know?" Michael looked into her frightened eyes. "Because I won't let it happen. Ever." Lily, who had been silent during the confrontation, came over and took Emma's hand. "Daddy doesn't let anyone hurt us," she said. "He's very strong." Michael scooped Emma into his arms. She was shaking so much she could barely stand. "Let's go home," he murmured. In the car, Emma remained silent, staring out the window as if expecting Rick to appear at any moment. Lily tried to comfort her, but Emma seemed in another world. When they got home, Michael took Emma straight to the living room and sat with her on the couch. "Emma, look at me." She lifted her tear-filled eyes. "He's going to take me away, isn't he?" "No," Michael said firmly. "You will never go back there. I will take care of you, legally." "What does legally mean?" "It means I will go to court and ask a judge to make me your guardian, your legal father." Emma's eyes widened. "You want to be my father?" "If you let me." "Yes, I want you to be my daughter, forever." Emma began crying again, but this time they were not tears of fear. "Would you really do that, even knowing everything that happened, especially knowing all that happened?" Michael pulled out his phone. "I'll call my attorney right now. We'll start the temporary custody process today." "What's temporary custody?" "It's when the judge says you can stay with me while they decide what's best for you. And I'll prove the best place for you is here, with us." Michael dialed the law office. It was Saturday, but he'd known the attorney, James Eat, for years. If it was an emergency, James would answer. "James, it's Michael. I need your urgent help. Yes, it's about a child, temporary custody. I need to file on Monday." "No, it can't wait." Emma watched Michael talk on the phone. Lily sat beside her, holding her hand. "Daddy will manage," she whispered. "He always gets things done that he promises." Michael hung up and looked at Emma. "James will meet me at his office tomorrow. We'll file the paperwork first thing Monday morning. What if Rick shows up before then? If he comes here, I'll call the police, and now I know where he was when you were missing. That's abandonment. The judge won't like that at all." Emma was silent for a moment, processing everything. "Michael." "Yes?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving me back to him. For protecting me. For wanting to be my father." Michael felt tears well up in his eyes. "Thank you for letting me be your family, Emma." For the first time since he met her, Emma threw herself into his arms, not out of fear or because she was scared, but because she wanted to, because she trusted, because she finally believed she was safe. Michael hugged her tight, feeling how small and fragile she still was, but also feeling her strength, the courage a 5-year-old had to run away from an impossible situation and survive on her own. "I love you, Emma," he whispered. "I love you too, Daddy." It was the first time she had called him Daddy, and Michael knew he would do anything to protect this family they were forming. Anything. On Monday morning, Michael was at his attorney's office at 8 sharp. James Morrison was a middle-aged man specializing in family law, whom Michael had known for over 10 years. "Are you sure you want to do this?" James asked after hearing the entire story. "Adoption is a long and complicated process, and this man could make things even more difficult." "I am absolutely sure," Michael replied. "Emma needs protection, and I want to be her family. The problem is that legally, Rick still has rights. If he was your partner and cared for the child—" "He didn't care for her," Michael interrupted. "He exploited her, forced a 5-year-old to sell candy in traffic." James took notes on his notepad. "That's serious. Child labor is a crime, but we need concrete evidence. An adult's word against a child's might not be enough in court. So what do you suggest?" James leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. "We need to dig into who Rick Dawson really is, his background, his record. If we can prove he's unfit to care for a child, we'll have a solid case. How do we do that? I know a private investigator, very good at what he does, discreet and efficient. If there's anything in this man's past that can help us, he will find it." Michael didn't hesitate. "Hire him. Today." "Michael, private investigations aren't cheap." "I don't care about the cost. Emma is worth any amount." James nodded. "I'll call him right now. Meanwhile, we'll file for temporary custody. The faster, the better." 2 hours later, Michael was meeting the investigator at James's office. David Chen was an Asian man in his 40s, lean and unassuming, exactly the kind of person who would go unnoticed. "Mr. Patterson," David said, shaking Michael's hand. "James briefed me on the basics. I need some additional details." The three sat in the conference room. David took out a small recorder and a notepad. "Full name of the individual?" "Rick Dawson. I don't know his middle name." "Approximate age?" Michael thought of Rick's appearance at the diner, between 35 and 40. "Address?" Michael realized he didn't know where Rick lived. "Emma never told me the exact address. Just that it was a small house in a more remote neighborhood." "No problem. With the name and age, I can find him." "Occupation?" "He was unemployed. Emma mentioned he'd recently lost his job." David wrote everything down. "What exactly do you want me to look for?" James leaned forward. "Anything that proves he's unfit to care for a child. Criminal history, alcohol issues, job instability, anything." "How quickly do you need this?" "As soon as possible," Michael said. "He threatened to come after Emma. I need to be prepared." David stowed away the recorder. "I'll start today. I should have a preliminary report within 48 hours. Michael left feeling a bit relieved. At least he was taking concrete steps to protect Emma. At home, the girls played in the garden with Mrs. Henderson. Michael had told the babysitter about the situation, and she offered to stay extra hours during the week. "How was the attorney?" Emma asked when she saw him arrive. "Very good. We've already begun the process. And I hired someone to dig up more information about Rick." "What kind of things?" Michael knelt beside her. "Things that can prove to the judge that you're safer here with us." Emma nodded seriously. "Rick always caused trouble wherever he went." My mom said he couldn't keep a job for long. Why? I don't know. She just said he always fought with everyone. Michael made a mental note to pass that on to David. On Wednesday, David called, "Mr. Patterson, I have information. Can we meet?" "Sure. When and where?" "How about at the same office, in an hour?" Michael arrived at James's office to find David already there, with a thick folder on the table. "What did you find?" James asked. David opened the folder and pulled out several documents. "Well, Rick Dawson's full profile is interesting, and not in a good way." He separated the documents into piles. First, his employment history. Rick was fired from 2 jobs in the last 3 years. The first was at a mechanic's garage, the second at a construction supply warehouse. "Fired for what?" Michael asked. In the first case, misconduct. The shop owner said Richard frequently arrived late, smelled of alcohol during working hours, and got into arguments with customers. David consulted his notes. The final incident was when he yelled at a customer who complained about a repair. The owner said Rick was clearly intoxicated and became aggressive. Security had to remove him. And the second job? Similar story. At the warehouse, he lasted only 4 months. He was fired after a fight with the supervisor. Apparently, Rick showed up drunk one Monday, and when confronted, he pushed the supervisor. Michael felt a knot form in his stomach, the same pattern Emma had described at home. "There's more," David continued. "I spoke with neighbors of the house they used to live in. They all said the same thing. Constant fights, yelling, the police being called several times." "The police were called?" James perked up. "Yes, but there was never a formal complaint. Neighbors called for noise disturbance, but when the police arrived, no one wanted to press charges. Emma's mother always said everything was fine." David flipped the page. "I also discovered Rick has a history of heavy drinking. He frequented 3 local bars. All the owners said the same thing. He was a problem customer. He drank too much, got aggressive, and caused fights." "Any arrests?" "None, but he was kicked out of at least 2 establishments. In one bar, he broke a chair during a heated football argument." Michael shook his head. "Emma was right when she said he always caused trouble." "There's one more thing," David said, pulling a photo from the folder. "This is the house where they lived." Michael looked at the photo and felt tears prick his eyes. It was a small, run-down house, peeling paint, dirty windows, and overgrown yard. "I spoke with the landlord. Rick is 3 months behind on rent. Apparently, after Emma's mother disappeared, he stopped paying. The landlord is filing for eviction. He still lives there." "From what I've gathered, yes, but the house is in terrible condition, unfit to house a child." James organized all the documents. "This is excellent for our case. History of termination for misconduct, alcohol problems, aggressive behavior, unpaid rent." "And there's no formal complaint?" Michael asked. David shook his head. "None, which is common in domestic violence cases. Victims seldom file. But the signs are all there." "What signs?" "Pattern of aggressive behavior, loss of control while intoxicated, financial and professional instability. All indicators of someone unstable and potentially dangerous." Michael leaned back, absorbing all the information. "Is it enough for the court?" James nodded. "Yes. Especially combined with Emma's testimony about child labor and what she witnessed, Rick is clearly unfit to care for a child." David placed the documents back in the folder. "There's one more detail. Rick owes money to some people, not officially documented, but from what I learned talking to patrons of those bars. He would borrow money and not pay it back." "What kind of people?" "The kind that doesn't like to be stiffed." Michael understood the implication. He could be desperate for money. "Exactly. And a child he could use to sell candy." "It was a source of income for him," Michael finished, feeling disgust. James pounded the table. "Perfect. Now we have a solid case. Rick Dawson is unstable, violent, has alcohol problems, and saw Emma as a source of income through child labor." Michael grabbed the folder containing all the evidence. "When can we present this to the court?" "The temporary custody hearing is set for Friday at 10. I'll prepare a compelling presentation." Leaving the office, Michael felt confident for the first time since the encounter at the diner. He had concrete evidence that Rick was unfit to care for Emma, Now he just had to hope the judge saw it the same way. The days after the diner encounter passed in a routine Emma had never experienced before. For the first time in her life, she woke up knowing exactly what to expect each day. It was Thursday morning when Lily had an idea. "Emma, let's make a special drawing today," she said, spreading paper and colored pencils on the living room table. "What kind of special drawing?" "A drawing of our family. To show Daddy that we are a real family." Emma picked up a yellow pencil and thought, how do you draw a family? It's easy. We draw everyone together, doing things families do. Lily began drawing a large house with windows. Emma watched for a moment, then started her own drawing beside it. Michael was in the kitchen when he heard them talking quietly about their drawings. "I'll draw you here," Lily said, "and I'll draw Michael here next to us," Emma replied, "and we can all be holding hands." An hour later, the two girls appeared in the kitchen with their drawings in hand. "Daddy, look what we made," Lily said proudly. Michael wiped his hands and knelt down to look. Lily's drawing showed a house with 3 figures standing in front, one tall, him, and 2 small ones, the girls, all smiling, holding hands. Below, in colorful letters, "Our family." Emma's drawing depicted the backyard garden with the 3 figures watering plants together. The sun shone, colorful flowers dotted the ground, and beneath it read, "My home." "They are the most beautiful drawings I've ever seen," Michael said, genuinely moved. "Can I stick them on the fridge?" Emma asked timidly. "Of course, let's put both up." While Michael taped the drawings to the refrigerator, Emma and Lily exchanged smiles. They shared a silent understanding, as if they'd been sisters for years. "How about we bake cookies again?" Michael suggested. "This time we can try a new recipe." "Cookies of what?" Lily asked excitedly. "How about oatmeal chocolate chip cookies?" Emma had never had oatmeal cookies, but the idea sounded delicious. "Can I help mix?" "Absolutely. You two are my official kitchen assistants." In the kitchen, Michael showed them a recipe he had learned from Sarah. Emma paid close attention to every detail. "First, we mix the flour with the oats," he explained. "Why do we add oats?" Emma asked. "They make the cookie tastier and healthier." Emma measured each ingredient carefully. Michael noticed how organized she was for a 5-year-old. "Now we add the chocolate," he said, dumping chocolate chips into the bowl. "Can I taste one?" Emma asked. "You can. Just one, so there's enough for the cookies." Emma popped a chip into her mouth and closed her eyes, savoring it. "It's sweeter than the chocolate in the candy I used to sell." It was the first time she casually mentioned her candy-selling days without sadness or fear. While the cookies baked, the 3 sat at the table to chat. "Lily, can you teach me that game you made yesterday?" Emma asked. "Which game?" "The one with the secret code." "Oh, the code game," Lily exclaimed. "It's easy. We make up words that only we understand." Lily lowered her voice as if sharing a big secret. "For example, when I say purple banana, it means I want ice cream," Emma laughed. "And if I want a cookie, then you say blue butterfly. And if we want to go play in the garden, then it's green bird," Lily decided. Michael watched their conversation, amused. The two were building their own little world full of shared codes and secrets. "And if we want Daddy to read a story?" Emma asked. "Then it's yellow star," Lily answered immediately. "Can I join the code club?" Michael asked. The girls looked at each other, pretending to weigh a very serious decision. "You can," Lily said finally, "but you have to learn all the codes." "What's the code for I love both of you?" The girls thought. "Golden rainbow," they said together, giggling at the coincidence. The timer on the oven buzzed. "The cookies are ready," Michael announced. They looked perfect, golden brown, with the aroma of oats and chocolate filling the kitchen. Emma tasted one while it was still warm and sighed in delight. "These are even better than the last ones." "That's because you helped make them," Lily said. "When you make something with love, it tastes better." In the afternoon, the two went to play in the garden while Michael worked on his laptop. Every now and then, he glanced out the window and saw them talking softly. Emma was teaching Lily how to make a grass doll. "Look, if you tie it here, it looks like hair," she explained to Lily. "Wow, that's so cool. Do you know how to make other things?" "I know how to make a boat from a leaf and a little animal house from sticks." Michael realized that Emma was sharing skills she had developed to survive, but now they were just creative play. At dinner, the girls used their secret code several times. "Lily, do you want a blue butterfly?" Emma asked. "Yes, Daddy, Emma wants a cookie. And I want a purple banana," Lily said. "Ice cream," Emma translated quickly. Michael served cookies and ice cream to the two, amused by the game. "You two are becoming best friends," he observed. "Emma is my sister," Lily said naturally. Emma paused mid-bite and looked at Lily. "Sister? Of course. You live here, Daddy cares for you, and we play together every day. Isn't that what sisters do?" Emma smiled slowly. "I never had a sister. Now you do. And I always wanted a sister." Michael felt his heart warm. The two had formed a genuine bond. After dinner, the girls approached him in the living room. "Daddy, can you tell a story?" Lily asked. "Yellow Star," Emma whispered, and the two laughed. Michael improvised a tale about two princess sisters who rescued lost animals in the forest. Emma listened, fascinated. When he finished, Emma asked, "Did the princesses always stay together?" "Always. Because they were a family, and families stick together, even when there are problems. Especially when there are problems, that's when families need to stay together most." Emma nodded solemnly, as if storing that knowledge forever. At bedtime, Lily went to say goodnight to Emma. "Good night, sister," she said, giving Emma a hug. "Good night, Lily." Michael took Emma to her room. She still wore the golden tiara Lily had given her on her first day. "Michael." "Yes? Can I tell you something I've never told anyone?" Michael sat on the edge of the bed. "Of course. You can tell me anything." Emma nestled into the pillow. "Remember when I told you about the day my mom died? I remember. I didn't tell you everything." Michael waited patiently. "That day, before Rick shoved my mom, they were fighting a lot more than usual." Emma paused, gathering courage. "It was morning. Rick was yelling because there wasn't good food for breakfast. My mom said we didn't have any money. Then he got even angrier. What happened? He started shouting that it was all her fault, that she was stupid and couldn't do anything right. My mom began crying so much." Emma pulled the blanket up to her chin. "I was so scared. They had never fought like that before. Rick looked more furious than I had ever seen. He seemed dangerous. And then I ran out of the house. I ran without saying a word. I just ran. I went to the park far away and hid behind the slide." Michael felt his stomach tighten. Emma had fled the violence instinctively. "How long were you out?" "A long time, until it got a little dark. I was hungry and cold, so I decided to go back." Emma turned to face Michael. "When I got back home, the house was very quiet. Too quiet. I called for my mom, but no one answered. And Rick? He was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking. When he saw me, he said my mom had left town, that she had packed our things and left without me." "Did you believe him?" Emma shook her head. "No, my mom would never leave me. Never. Even when she was sad, she always hugged me and told me she loved me." Tears began streaming down Emma's face. "And something was wrong. My mom's clothes were still there, and her toothbrush, and the photo she had of us together. She would never leave those things behind." Michael felt a pang in his chest. Emma had sensed something was wrong, even at that age. "What else did you notice?" "The kitchen table was a bit crooked, and there was a stain on the floor Rick had tried to clean, Mouse, but you could still see a little bit." "Did you tell Rick you thought it was strange?" "No, I was too scared. He looked at me as if I knew something I wasn't supposed to know." Emma wiped her eyes. "In the days that followed, Rick acted weird around me. He didn't yell like before, but he kept watching me, and he'd ask if I remembered my mom correctly, if I wasn't mixing things up." "What do you mean?" "He said kids sometimes make things up. That I might be confusing what happened with a bad dream." Michael understood. Rick was trying to manipulate Emma's memory. "But I knew it wasn't a dream," Emma continued. "I remembered everything. How my mom cried, the noise when she fell, how she stayed still on the floor. Emma, you were very brave to tell me that. Do you believe me?" "Even though I'm just a child, I believe every word, and you are not just a child, you are a very smart and brave little girl." Emma smiled through her tears. Can I stop carrying this secret alone now? You can. You will never have to carry anything alone again. Now you have a family who cares for you. Emma nestled into the pillow, looking lighter. Michael. Yes. Thank you for believing me. And thank you for giving me a sister. Thank you for trusting me, Emma, and for bringing so much joy to our family. Michael stayed there until Emma fell asleep. When he left her room, his mind was racing. Emma's story confirmed that Rick had staged the scene, probably hidden the body, and tried to make a 5-year-old doubt her own memory. It was even worse than he had imagined. But looking at the house filled with drawings on the fridge, secret code words and laughter, Michael knew he had made the right choice. Emma was thriving. She was safe, happy, confident, and he would do anything to protect this family they had built together. The custody hearing was set for 10 o'clock on Friday morning. Michael had woken at 5, unable to sleep, his stomach churning with nerves. He sat in the kitchen drinking coffee and mentally reviewing everything James had prepared him to say, trying to anticipate every possible question. Emma had also woken early. When she came down for breakfast, she wore the blue dress Lily had picked out for her, because blue is a lucky color. But Emma barely touched her toast, unable to eat anything. "Will you come with me?" she asked for the 10th time, playing nervously with the doll she held. "I will. And if you feel too scared, just tell me and we'll stop everything." Emma nodded, but Michael saw the fear in her eyes. It was understandable. She hadn't seen Rick since the diner, but his presence still terrified her. Lily was with Mrs. Henderson, but not before giving Emma her favorite teddy bear and a colorful beaded bracelet she had made in school. "Good luck, sister," she whispered seriously. "When you come back, we'll bake chocolate cookies to celebrate, and you can wear my princess tiara all day." Emma smiled for the first time that morning and hugged the teddy bear tight. "Thank you, Lily. You're the best sister in the world." The drive to the courthouse was silent. Michael drove carefully, trying not to show his own nervousness. Emma sat in the back seat, whispering to her teddy bear. The courthouse was an imposing grey stone building with large columns at the entrance. Michael and Emma met with James in the marble-floored lobby. The attorney was confident, but Michael sensed the tension behind his professional demeanor. "How are you both feeling?" James asked, adjusting his tie. "Nervous," Michael replied honestly. "That's completely normal, but we have a very solid case. The investigators' report on Rick, Emma's testimony, the evidence of neglect and exploitation. It all indicates she's far safer under your care." James lowered himself to Emma's level. "Emma, you only need to answer the judge's questions if she asks you, and you can tell the truth about everything. You have nothing to fear." Emma nodded seriously, clutching her teddy bear tighter. The courtroom was formal and intimidating, with dark wood benches and colored glass windows. The ceiling was high, making voices echo. Michael felt Emma shrink when she saw Rick sitting on the other side of the room. Rick had dressed up, light blue dress shirt and black pants. When he saw Emma, he waved with a forced smile, like a doting uncle greeting his favorite niece. "Hello, Emma," he said loudly, drawing everyone's attention. Emma hid completely behind Michael, shaking. "I don't want to look at him," she whispered. "Please don't make me look at him." Michael positioned himself to block Emma's view of Rick. James took a seat on her other side, creating a protective barrier. At 10 o'clock, Judge Margaret Thompson entered the courtroom. She was a middle-aged woman with grey hair tied in an elegant bun, serious-looking, but with kind eyes when she glanced briefly at Emma. "You may be seated," she said, settling in. "We are here for the temporary custody hearing of minor Emma Carter," she said, organizing her papers precisely. "Mr. Patterson, you are requesting custody of the child." "Yes, Your Honor." "And Mr. Dawson, you oppose this request." Rick's attorney stood, consulting his notes. "Yes, Your Honor. My client is the legal guardian of the minor since the mother's death. Mr. Patterson has no legal rights and technically committed kidnapping by removing her from his legal custody." The word kidnapping made Emma shrink even further. Michael felt her small hand clutch his shirt. "Mr. Dawson, where were you when the minor disappeared from your home?" Rick stood nervously, running a hand through his hair. She did not disappear, Your Honor. She ran away. Children do that sometimes. They get confused, scared. She was upset because her mother had left town a few weeks earlier. The mother left town and left her daughter behind. Yes, Linda was not well, you see. Personal issues. She said she needed some time, that she would return to pick up Emma later. The judge made notes. Mr. Patterson, under what circumstances did you find the minor? Michael stood, choosing his words carefully. I found Emma in a dumpster in the parking lot of my office, Your Honor. It was midnight on a Monday. She was filthy, clearly malnourished, shivering from the cold. She was barefoot. It was obvious she had spent several days on the streets. And what led you to not report her to the proper authorities? When I asked her what happened, the first thing Emma said was, Please, I don't want to go back there. She was so terrified, so desperate, that I instinctively realized something was very wrong. Rick's attorney stood. Objection, Your Honor. That does not justify the kidnapping of a minor. The legal protocol requires that the child be turned over to the proper authorities. Mr. Patterson, technically, you broke the law by not reporting the child's whereabouts. Michael felt his stomach drop. This was the moment James had warned about. Rick stood abruptly. Your Honor, this man kidnapped my stepdaughter. She was under my legal custody. I cared for her the best I could after her mother abandoned us. Mr. Dawson, sit down and wait your turn, the judge said firmly. But Rick was agitated, his voice growing louder and more aggressive. No, this is unfair. He stole my daughter from me. She's my responsibility. I provided food, a home, everything she needed. Emma began shaking violently. The sound of Rick's raised voice was sending her back into terror. Mr. Dawson, sit down immediately, the judge ordered, banging her gavel. The judge looked at Emma with clear compassion. Emma, could you tell me what it was like living with Mr. Dawson? Emma looked to Michael, who nodded encouragingly. She rose slowly, clutching her teddy bear. He made me sell candy to drivers every single day, from early morning until late, and if I didn't sell it all, he yelled at me. She is lying, Rick exploded. Children make up stories. She's just a child. She's making it all up. Mr. Dawson, another interruption, and you will be removed from this courtroom, the judge warned sternly. Emma continued, trembling. And he yelled at my mom every day, and he drank from those bottles that smelled bad, and then he got even angrier. And on the last day, he shoved my mom very hard, and she hit her head on the kitchen table and stayed still and... Enough, Rick stood up, out of control. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just a child. She's inventing all of this. At that exact moment, the double doors banged open with a crash. 2 uniformed police officers entered quickly, followed by a man in plain clothes. Everyone in the courtroom turned to look. The judge frowned, clearly irritated. What is the meaning of this? She asked. The plainclothes officer approached, flashing an ID badge. Your Honor, I apologize for this urgent interruption, but I have critical information related to this case. I am Detective Carlos Santos from the Homicide Division. A deafening silence fell over the room. Michael felt Emma cling to his arm tightly. Homicide? The judge asked, visibly alarmed. What type of information? We would like to speak immediately with Mr. Rick Dawson regarding the disappearance of Linda Carter. Rick turned as pale as a sheet. His attorney whispered urgently in his ear. This morning at 6 o'clock, Your Honor, a construction crew found human remains in a vacant lot in the west side of the city. The body was preliminarily identified as Linda Carter, the mother of the minor present in this courtroom. Emma let out a muffled scream and buried her face into Michael's arms. He held her tight, feeling her trembling. Emma's mother's body, the judge asked, visibly shocked. Yes, Your Honor. The victim had multiple bruises consistent with domestic violence and a fatal injury to the temporal region caused by blunt force trauma. The judge looked at Rick, who was in total panic. Mr. Dawson, you stated that Linda Carter had left town voluntarily. However, it appears she had been deceased for several weeks. I didn't... That's not... Rick stammered, his hands shaking. Based on the preliminary investigation and the condition of the body, We believe Linda Carter was murdered approximately at the same time the minor disappeared from the residence. The detective stared directly at Rick. Mr. Dawson, where exactly had Linda Carter gone when she left town? Rick looked around like a cornered animal. His attorney whispered for him not to speak, but Rick was in full panic. His eyes landed on Emma, who was huddled in Michael's arms. "It was an accident," he said finally, his voice breaking completely. "I swear it was an accident. I never meant for her to die." The silence was deafening. "She was going to leave me," Rick continued, words spilling out desperately. "She was going to take Emma and leave me alone. I was drinking, she was yelling at me, calling me a failure." Emma was crying in Michael's arms, but these were not tears of fear. They were tears of relief mixed with sadness. "I just pushed her to stop her from yelling," Rick said. "I didn't mean for her to hit her head. I didn't mean for her to die. I regretted it right away, but she wasn't breathing anymore." "Mr. Rick Dawson," the detective said, stepping forward with handcuffs, "you are under arrest for the murder of Linda Carter. You have the right to remain silent." "I tried to take care of Emma afterward," Rick cried as he was handcuffed. "I tried to be a father to her, but she ran away. I didn't know what to do." The officers escorted him out. He seemed to have completely given up. "I'm sorry," he kept repeating. "I tried to take care of her, but she ran away." The courtroom was silent after Rick was removed. The judge removed her glasses and cleaned them, clearly processing everything she had witnessed. "Well," she said at last, "this certainly changes this hearing completely." She looked at Michael and Emma with a softer expression. "Mr. Patterson, considering the extraordinary circumstances of this case and the clear fact that the minor is safe, well cared for, and clearly loved under your care, I grant you immediate temporary custody of Emma Carter." Michael felt his legs go weak with relief. "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much. We will have a final custody hearing in 6 months, but frankly, after what I witnessed today, I foresee no issues at all." Emma stepped back from Michael slightly and looked at him with bright eyes. "Does that mean I can stay forever?" "It means you are home, sweetheart. Forever." 6 months later, it was Saturday morning, and Michael was making pancakes when he heard the familiar sound of laughter coming from the girls' room. Emma and Lily now shared Lily's room by choice, and they were inseparable. The final custody ruling had been approved the previous week without complications. Emma was now officially Emma Patterson, a name she had chosen proudly. "Daddy," Lily called from the top of the stairs, "come see what Emma drew." "I'm coming," he replied, flipping a pancake. The room was a delightfully organized mess of toys, books, and art projects. On the wall were dozens of drawings, but the newest one on the floor, surrounded by scattered colored pencils, immediately caught his attention. It was perfect. 3 figures holding hands in front of a yellow house with blue windows. A tall man in the middle with brown hair and a big smile. On each side, 2 little girls, one with curly hair, Lily, and one with straight hair in a braid, Emma, all smiling. A yellow sun shone in the sky, and colorful flowers dotted the ground. Below the drawing, in careful colored letters, was written, "My new family, Daddy, Lily, and me." Michael felt tears well up in his eyes. "Is it beautiful?" Emma asked uncertainly, biting her lip. "Emma," Michael said, lowering himself to her level, "it's the most beautiful and perfect drawing I've ever seen in my life." "Really? It's not crooked?" "It's absolutely perfect. Every line, every color. Can I tape it to the wall? It deserves a very special place." Michael went downstairs with the girls and placed the drawing front and center on the refrigerator where everyone would see it immediately. "Perfect," the two said together, laughing. As the girls ate their pancakes, Michael looked at the drawing on the fridge. Surrounding it were other drawings, family photos, reminders for doctor's appointments, invitations to parties, the ordinary, messy life of a happy family. None of it had been planned. 6 months ago, he was just a single father struggling to balance work and raising Lily, still mourning Sarah. He never imagined he would find a child in a dumpster and that it would change his life completely. But looking at Emma, now laughing freely, telling bad jokes, arguing with Lily over something silly like which show to watch, having opinions on everything. Michael knew that this was, without a doubt, the best part of his life. His family had grown in an unexpected way, but he couldn't imagine life without Emma. She had brought new energy, a different perspective, and a contagious joy. "Daddy," Emma said, interrupting his thoughts, "can I make pancakes next week?" "Of course, our new Saturday tradition." "And can I help too?" Lily asked. "You two are my official kitchen assistants forever." The girls laughed and resumed chatting about their plans for the day. Michael glanced once more at the drawing on the fridge and smiled. None of this had been planned, but it was absolutely perfect, just the same. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.